Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, Shandana. In Pakistan today, we're witnessing a meltdown of the government and the state of Pakistan, and this is not without consequence. We're going to be talking about three broad aspects of this. Firstly, the failure to uphold the constitution, failure to protect human rights of the citizens. We'll be talking about the meltdown of economy, which is resulting in unprecedented inflation, and then we'll be talking about the terrorism charges, the joint statement made by Modi and Biden administration during Modi's visit to the U.S. Welcome, Shandana. So let's
Thank
talk
you.
about
Thank you, Aman.
let's start by talking about the failure of this government to uphold any policy, if they even have a policy. And let's talk about human rights, the failure to uphold the constitution, which is a contract between the state and the people of Pakistan. This contract stands broken today. What do you think about that?
Thank you, Saman. Those are some very heavy questions, and they all, as you rightly pointed out, uh, sadly fixate on one issue, which is the complete meltdown, a complete annihilation, a complete violation, a complete abuse of the Constitution of Pakistan itself. There are people in this country who are making it their job to ensure that, in particular, the first chapter of the Pakistani constitution, which deals with fundamental rights of all sorts, the right to life, the right to property, the right to live and breathe, the right to due process of law, the right to vote, the right to own a business, the right to do business, all of these are at this point being heavily compromised. Now, I'll start with human rights situation. Never before in the history of Pakistan have women, children, the differently abled, young men, young women been abused in such large numbers without any legal justification. We've heard about horrific stories coming out from many provinces. We've heard about secret uh, sorts of torture happening in different by different political parties, by different organizations, by different authorities, but it has never crossed this level. So it's a bit uh, disheartening. I think that's a mild understatement. But at the same time, it is also very alarming for those people who understand what it means, and that is the problem. We are faced with a government that unfortunately can't understand what it's doing. It's lacking in basic education. The government is lacking in basic insight, in basic vision, and because it's hastily cobbled together, how do you say, wannabe Gestapo of 14 different parties who are simply trying to ensure their own survival and their children's survival, not the survival of the party or of its members, but in particular the head of the party like Zardari and his son Bilawal Zardari, Nawaz Sharif's daughter Mariam Nawaz, etc., etc. This is not a bid to save Pakistan. When they removed Imran Khan through the illegal vote of no confidence, when they bought members of parliament, the game was never Pakistan. The focus was never Pakistan. The economy was doing very well. We were going at a 6% growth rate. We had the highest remittances ever in the history of Pakistan, highest ever export earnings in the history of Pakistan. We had full employment in the city of Faisalabad. We had 100%. It's the city which produces the most textile in Pakistan. We had 100% employment rates. We couldn't fulfill orders. And this is all in the midst of COVID, the largest pandemic to hit the world after a century. Today, we have none of that. But that's going to be the second part of this issue. The first and most glaring failure, colossal failure of this government is to ensure human rights. Just yesterday, I saw an article in the Dawn newspaper, a newspaper I usually don't read. The headline was, as usual, deceptive and misleadingly democratic. It said that there's a Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. They have gone and tried to look at the condition of prisoners in prisons, and they have found, in particular, no specific evidence of abuse from female prisoners. Now, this is after the internet is full of videos and pictures of the abuse. Police dragging and beating women and children, and even those people in wheelchairs in the open. If the Punjab police in particular has done that in the open, and Sindh police, why would they not be doing inside the prison? And I know this on first-hand authority, on good authority, there are women right now, cancer survivors who are open prisoners at this point. By open prisoners, I mean people who are not ashamed of admitting that they are being abused. You know, there's huge stigma in Pakistan to women in particular admitting to abuse, and sexual abuse takes it to a whole new level. I know women who have suffered that, who may or may not still be in prison. There are plenty of women currently who have been abused. They have been strip searched in the middle of the night. And so those are things that are simply intolerable in any state, whether modern, democratic, or otherwise. But the state is supposed to guarantee the safety of its citizens. Perhaps the most shameful aspect is those women who dare to call themselves either members of human rights organizations, different non governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations, and perhaps the most shameful lot who deserve this special wall of shame in the future is the women sitting in the National Assembly of Pakistan and the provincial assemblies of Pakistan and the Senate of Pakistan and the Cabinet of Pakistan. Not one woman has come out and condemned any excess against women and children. In particular, one minister last year said that the women who were protesting um, against the brutality of the police in the context of Women's March, they should not have been abused. But the women who are guarding Zaman Park, and this happened again this year on the 14th of March, that the women who were guarding Zaman Park, they deserve to be abused. And this I'm, of course, paraphrasing her words. I don't remember her exact words, but I have that tweet with me. So what I'm saying is never ever has Pakistan seen this shameful onslaught after, and perhaps if at the time of Bibi's death, if Benazir Bhutto's death was investigated properly by her then husband, who was the president of Pakistan, if he had bothered in the 5 years that he was the president to check what had happened to his wife, a former prime minister of Pakistan was murdered, was martyred. If that woman, if her murder had been investigated today, we wouldn't be looking at this kind of colossal failure of the state. And I can tell you that this has resonating implications on both the economy and international relations. You cannot see these things in isolation. If you will abuse the women of a nation, the mothers of a nation, the message you're sending out to the world is the following: that we are a nation of women beaters. We, the government of Pakistan, the current government of Pakistan, are a woman, a mother beating nation. And you know what happens to those nations? Nobody, not
I
even your friendly countries, wants anything to do with you, in particular in economic relations.
actually, that's where I was going to go with my next question, and about the friendly countries, and about how the international audience, how the globally, how people are reacting to the situation in Pakistan. The budget was given by Ishaq Dar, the economic minister, the finance minister of Pakistan, and the comments by the IMF were, and even the international community, were not very favorable, if I may. And is how much of that has to do with the failure of the state at this point?
See, the failure of the state is, of course, the ultimate failure. We're not there yet. But thanks to this inept and corrupt government, we're quickly heading there. This government, cobbled by 14 corrupt dynasties, they are not political parties, they're 14 corrupt dynasties, who have robbed Pakistan blind for the past 40 years. Their facilitators, whether local or international, should have known that they only come to government either to get rid of the corruption cases against themselves or the mega scams they're involved in. Another case was removed against Nawaz Sharif yesterday. Or they come in to make more money for the future and ensure that their children become the future leaders of this country. Now, I would have had maybe a smidgen of respect for Bilawal Zardari or Mariam Nawaz if they had the moral courage to denounce their parents' kleptocratic governments. They were kleptomaniacs, if anything else. They destroyed Pakistan's economy. They took money from our rural centers in Pakistan and transferred it to the urban centers, ensuring that Pakistan is in the grip of such acute poverty that 70% of our people live below the poverty line. Now, that is disgusting. These people were, these it's amazing what kind of complexes we have, that unless wearing a Prada or a Gucci, we're not considered human. These are the kind of people that want to lead this country, and that's what makes me ashamed. There's plenty of smart people in other political parties, plenty of loyal people in other parties that are loyal to Pakistan first and Pakistan alone. You will never see them at the helm of leadership in any of these other parties, because the corrupt dynasties is what keeps Pakistan poor. And to keep Pakistan poor for the next 75 years, they need to keep these corrupt kleptocrats in power. Now, the economy. Recently, we've had a huge amount of taxes imposed on Pakistan on the 9th of June prior to the IMF agreement. A huge amount of taxes imposed on Pakistan ever since this ridiculous government took over. They keep on imposing taxes, but they're never going to tax the rich. They're never going to tax their own relatives. They're never going to tax the businesses that they own. There's a huge every business that you see a huge dole out for, a huge subsidy, will already be a multi-billion business in rupees, of course. So this is the reality of these people, that they want to make the rich richer, the poor poorer, and shrink the middle class, because that's how you disenfranchise the nation. You have 20 to 50 corrupt families, business families that support the Bhuttos or the Zardaris or the Sharifs, and that's enough for them. And they've got tentacles in every arm of the government. They're in the media, they're in the mosques, they're in the parliament, they're in the bureaucracy, they're in every institution known to Pakistan. Shehbaz Sharif gave a 3 hour speech in the parliament once. If you can bring out that speech, please attach snippets of it. It would be interesting for people to hear. He brought out the business partnership of General Kiani's brother with Asif Ali Zardari. Now, that is not a speech that Imran Khan made as prime minister or that anybody in PTI made. A 3 hour speech on the House of the Floor describing this kind of illegal transactions. Now, this same Zardari and Shehbaz Sharif are best friends now. It just shows you the depth of decadence, the kinds of level of hypocrisy they can and they're able to sink to. Now, what
Hasn't
have they done
hasn't
to the
Imran
country?
Khan hasn't
Please,
Imran
please
Khan
go ahead.
himself hasn't Imran Khan himself commented on this, that when said that the criminal cases against these politicians, the people who are in power right now, those cases were actually originated by each other. So any case that's on the Sharifs was actually started by the Zardaris, Bhuttos, and vice versa. It was never Imran Khan's government that actually started those or filed those cases in the first place. But speaking of nepotism or and helping each other out, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, kind of a relationship that these people have had, and promoting their own family. We just saw the dismissal, I would say, of Mifta Ismail from the politics of Pakistan, who came on as the finance minister when the imposed government first took over, and then he was sidelined by a family member, Dar. Um, do you think that's a reflection of what is going to be done to the middle class and the upper middle class of Pakistan once, like they'll be used, abused, and hung out to dry?
Thank you, Saman. There's a lot of questions in there. Let me start with perhaps the most benign one. Not that I'm a fan, but Fatma Bhutto and her brother Zulfikar Jr. are the only two Bhuttos. The rest are Zardaris. So that's an anomaly just to keep the vote bank engaged. Secondly, nepotism is at the core of this country's problems. And nepotism has become kleptocracies, and these dynasties that are trying to propagate themselves in politics are not doing it for politics or for Pakistan. These people wake up and have their own private jets taking them all over the world, all over Pakistan. They don't pay a single rupee in taxes. Their friends, their cronies in government, in the private sector, they get the most bailouts each year. They ensure that those and those around them remain rich so they can keep a whole class of Pakistanis, a whole generations of Pakistani poor. Now, to come back to, as you said, this budget and this cronyism, Mifta Ismail should have known better. He's a business person. His businesses minted money during Khan's tenure because Khan made it easy for genuine, hardworking businesses to make money, even if they were from the opposition. That's not something Khan ever did. So he's just getting a taste of his own medicine. When it comes to Dar, his daughter-in-law is Nawaz Sharif's daughter. Same problem we saw in General Bajwa. His father-in-law apparently, this is from comes from Mariam Nawaz's leaks. There are a couple of leaks making the rounds now. She says that she has videos of General Bajwa's father-in-law going and begging her father, according to Mariam Nawaz, to make him the army chief, and they would help us. Now, this is from 2015 and 16. So when you have these kind of things coming out, that a father-in-law can influence the choice of the future most important seat in Pakistan, if a son-in-law or a father-in-law determines who will be the minister, then this country is going nowhere. a son, Mariam a daughter, Shehbaz Sharif a brother. Show me one person in the current front row of the government sitting right now, this corrupt government, that is not a relative, a brother or a sister or a father or a mother. Not a single one of them comes from merit, education, or any human decency inside them. They will do whatever they can. They will crush Pakistan's masses if they can in order to ensure a seat at the table. And anybody who supports them, whether in Pakistan or out of Pakistan, is unfortunately complicit with what I call it this wannabe Gestapo. These are neo Nazis of Pakistan. They are destroying the average Pakistani hardworking person simply because they want their children to be rich and important. What they don't realize is that 70% of Pakistan's population is under the age of 30 right now. They will not stand for any more theft of their hard earned uh, taxpayers' money. They don't have schools to go to. They don't have hospitals to go to. Madam Mariam Nawaz has cancelled the health card, the compulsory universal health care. This is not a free health care. These people are paying in taxes to get health care back. She's destroyed their health care ability and given it to the media, which is not even allowed to show PTI or Imran Khan. So you can see the quid pro quo that's going on there.
Absolutely.
Finally,
And
the
because,
IMF is not the enemy. The IMF is not the problem. Sorry, the problem is us. Why should we blame the United States? Why should we blame the UK? Although I will blame them when we come to the last segment on discussion about the butcher of Gujarat actually calling out Pakistan, the courage and the gall of the butcher of Gujarat to talk about Pakistan and terrorism. I mean, it's sheer hypocrisy. But the problem is, we as a nation put our worst face forward, our worst foot forward. That's not going to work any longer.
absolutely. And that is actually exactly where I was going to go next for the last segment of our show. I wanted to talk about the failure of the foreign policy under who I would call the intern foreign minister of Pakistan, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, because I failed to see what the exact policy was. He's taken several international trips. He says he has commented that he is in the business right now of mending the bridges that were actually formed by Mr. Imran Khan's government, or how he had alienated Pakistan in the international arena. Yet, with this last joint Biden Modi statement, I fail to see what kind of progress he's made. What do you see as the foreign policy of Pakistan, and or under Mr. Zardari, and how he seems to have botched things up further?
Thank you, Saman. Look, now when it comes to since we're talking about failures of this government, so we talked about the human rights failure, we're talking about the economic failure, and now we're talking about the ultimate failure. They have embarrassed us in international circles to the extent that the butcher of Gujarat, Narendra Modi, who was banned from entering the United States in the Barack Obama tenure because of the Muslim genocide, the ethnic genocide that he carried out under his watch as Chief Minister of Gujarat, it was a pogrom, and it continues. I mean, it's always been there in Kashmir. It went to Gujarat and it is spread to all of India. Hindustan is India is otherwise known, thanks to Modi, has become rapistan. Now they don't look at the religion of the woman they rape. And Nirbhaya, the young girl who was raped in the bus in New Delhi many years ago, that was the culmination. Because you can't, as I said this before, if you are going to groom snakes to bite other people's children, eventually they will bite yours. The 75-year policy of India in Kashmir, where they've raped villages upon villages, Konan and Pushpora come up, of Muslim women, ethnic genocide after ethnic genocide, and the world kept quiet. Everybody's recorded it. Genocide alert, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and not a single line of condemnation from European Union, the United States, anyone, simply because of economic interest that they have in India. Not a single word. It has now rebounded on India itself. I can't say there's a good thing as a woman. I don't wish ill on any woman, be it Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Pakistani, Indian, American. That's not how it works. Every woman is a gem, and she needs to be protected the way she wishes to be protected. But if you're going to rape her simply because it happened in the Delhi rape case, she sat on a bus with her colleague after watching a movie, and you deem her worthy of rape. It's a similar thing that happened on the streets of Pakistan on the 9th and 10th of May, that they beat the life out of the women who dared to come out in peaceful protests. They were yanked by their hair, they were beaten, they were lathi charged, they were hit with batons, they were hit with steel batons. Khadija Shah in particular, she's an asthma patient. Once they found that out, she was arrested and then put out in a there's a steel bunkers cars that we have when they arrest prisoners or alleged prisoners, and they put her out in the sun to roast for a couple of hours in that heated armored vehicle so that her asthma would get worse. They've made people collapse that way. And you know who did that? When first post 9/11, when the joint forces, the allies of NATO, they started bombing Afghanistan, they picked up scores of innocent Afghans because they had a turban and a beard, and they put them in containers and they asphyxiated them. That's how strong their urge for revenge was. Now, do I want revenge in Pakistan? Of course not. But look at the flip side, because if this ridiculously incompetent and inept government, the butcher of Gujarat and Mr. Biden, with a very convenient memory, never comments on what happens, anything in Kashmir and Palestine. They have issued a joint communique against Pakistan saying that our soil is being used for terrorism as it was during the Mumbai attacks. There's plenty of evidence that has come out from India that the Mumbai attacks were homegrown, they were self engineered for electoral purposes, kind of wag the dog. Similarly, Indian commentators have now also brought out that the 40 young men murdered in Kashmir, the army officers sitting in one large vehicle, was also done by Modi prior to his elections. Pakistan had nothing to do with it. It was a false flag operation. But the gall of this ridiculous man, I don't even call him, Khan had once said this about him, he's a small man in a big office. And I remember it offended many an ambassador in Islamabad. And of course, they went crying to the powers that be, in particular, one man who was, thank God, no longer in Pakistan. And that is what sickens me. That where is the self respect, whether it's Bilawal or Mariam or Shahbaz, where is the response to this joint communique? Are you going to tweet this country into oblivion? Is
I
that how we respond
That
to
is what
such
was
baseless allegations against Pakistan?
it shocked me, the response when Imran Khan Saab tweeted about it. The response from Bilawal Zardari was shocking. It was a quote tweet of Khan Sahab with just a shrug emoji. That, I believe, showed the mental level, the inability of Mr. Zardari to for the job, and he is now aspiring to be the next prime minister of Pakistan. So that is shocking, and it bewilders me how people actually support that. They're all for that. Shandana, yes, please go on.
I was just going to say on an ending note, it shouldn't bewilder or shock you. They're known for being inept and corrupt, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It's
Absolutely.
sad for Pakistan, but it's not shocking.
And that is the saddest part of it. uh, Thank you again for your time, Shandana. I love spending time with you, picking your brains about what we've been seeing in Pakistan. Next week when we meet, I would love to talk more about our people, our society, how our people, our citizens, what kind of role they can play into what's going on right now. Because allegedly, there's been a statement saying that post Eid al Azha, there's going to be a worse crackdown. So let's see what happens. So I hope to see you and talk to you about that. Please stay safe. Thank you once again.
Inshallah. If I'm safe, alive, not in prison, we will meet next week.
Inshallah.